Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lollipop and today we are finally doing a 2020 versus 2021 comparison video on the Giant Talon lineup. I was going to make this video a lot sooner, but I wanted to wait to see if Giant would release all of the models in the US before I made it, which unfortunately has still not happened. This lineup consists of 5 different bikes, though I'm not completely sure if all of them will be available in the United States, since only 3 of them are currently on Giant's website in the US. Nonetheless, I will still talk about all 5 bikes to make this video comprehensive, and those include the Talon 0, Talon 1, Talon 2, Talon 3, and Talon 4. And in case you are wondering, the Talon 0 and Talon 3 are the bikes that have not shown up in the US yet. I'm going to talk about every component difference in these bikes throughout the video, like the suspension forks, drivetrains, or brakes, but at the end I will be making and completing these tables that show all of the new changes in one place if you want to see them a bit more clearly. And if you are interested in other Giant bike comparisons or ones from other brands, I do a lot of those on my channel, so check those out. And for those of you who have been watching my channel, this Giant Talon lineup is comparable to the Trek Marlin lineup or the Specialized Rockhopper lineup in terms of pricing and what these bikes are designed for. But on that note, the Giant Talon lineup is Giant's entry lineup for riders who want to seriously consider mountain biking, and thus there are less expensive models in the series, but also more expensive top-end models for intermediate riders, or for those who want a better equipped bike. Their geometry is more suited for cross-country riding, though they can definitely handle more than that if necessary. Now in 2020, the Talons were split up and had different specifications and measurements depending on their wheel sizes, but for 2021, all of the bikes do come with 27.5-inch wheels for frame sizes extra small to medium, and they come with 29-inch wheels for sizes small and above. A large update for 2021 is to the actual frame of the bike, which is shared between all 5 of the 2021 models. I'm going to show all the geometry specifications for the 2020 and 2021 frames right now, so you can see them all if you want to, but besides some slight changes in certain measurements like the head angle and seat tube angles, the main noticeable difference from the 2020 frame is that the rear seat stays of the bikes have been lowered a bit to save some weight and add some more flexibility, which will allow for a more comfortable ride. Giant has definitely tried to revamp this lineup a bit for 2021, it seems, as all of the bikes have gotten a bit less expensive, but that also means a lot of the parts have been swapped out for some lower level parts to fit those new price points. And one last thing I'll note is that all of the bikes do come with 100mm of travel in their suspension forks, but the bikes in sizes extra small come with 80mm of travel instead. But with that out of the way, let's start off the updates with the Giant Talon 4. Now this bike did have a 2020 model, but it was only available in certain countries excluding the United States, so I do not have its official pricing in dollars or in pounds. However, this bike in 2021 will cost $470 or £400. In 2020, this bike came in the colors gray with black accents, and charcoal with blue accents, while the 2021 bike replaces both colors with trekking green, metallic black, and lava red. Besides that, we do have a slight update to the suspension fork, which was an SR Suntour XCE 28 in 2020, and is now an SR Suntour XCE 29 in 2021. Both of these still have 100mm of travel in most sizes and are very similar entry-level forks. The brakes have been changed as well, from the Tektro M275 hydraulic disc brakes to the Tektro TKD 172 mechanical disc brakes. These mechanical disc brakes should be fine for beginner mountain bikers, but hydraulic disc brakes are often preferred since they provide much better stopping power and require less maintenance. The tires were CST branded 2.25-inch wide tires in 2020, which have been updated to the Maxxis Icon 2.2-inch wide tires for 2021, which are a tad less wide but pretty good overall tires for this bike. The crankset and cassette are the last 2 updates for 2021, as the 2020 bike used 3 chainrings in the front for its pro wheel crankset, which had 44 teeth on the largest chainring and 22 on the smallest chainring, while the new bike goes to the Pro Wheel 36 by 22 tooth double chainring setup. This change simplifies the drivetrain a bit for trail use. The cassette is actually a free wheel in both of these bikes, which are often used on less expensive bikes since they are cheaper to make, although they are not as strong and usually have a narrower gear range, so pedaling will not be as efficient. In 2020, the freewheel was a Shimano 14-34 tooth, which has been swapped out for the Shimano 14-28 tooth in 2021, which has less teeth and will thus be a little less trail oriented since it doesn't have as good of a gear for going uphill. Now let's move on to the Talon 3. In 2020, this bike was priced at $550 or 475 pounds, while the new Talon cuts that price down a little bit to 450 pounds. The bike in 2020 came in a satin black and olive green color, as well as a gloss charcoal color, while the new bike replaces both with a trekking green color and a metallic black color. For the components, the suspension fork is swapped out from the SR Suntour XCT30, which had 30mm stanchions and a lockout feature, to the SR Suntour XCE. Both of these are coil forks, though the 2021 model does not have a lockout, but the price of the bike has decreased, so this makes sense. The brakes were Tektro M275 hydraulic disc brakes in 2020, which are still Tektro hydraulics in 2021, but they are the Tektro TKD 143 brakes, which I actually can't seem to find anywhere online, but they shouldn't be too different from one another. Next, we have the derailleurs. The front derailleur was a Microshift M282 in 2020, which has been updated to the Shimano Altus M315 derailleur, though these shouldn't be too different either, although this Shimano derailleur is known to be reliable enough for this bike's price point. The rear derailleur has been changed from the Shimano Acera derailleur to the Shimano Tourney, which is a more entry-level derailleur that will not shift as smoothly or as quickly, though it is a normal derailleur to receive at this price point. And lastly, we have the cassette. This was a Shimano 12-32 tooth in 2020, and has been replaced with a 14-28 tooth freewheel in 2021 instead of a cassette. This freewheel has a narrower range, so it loses some pedaling efficiency and speed. Next, we have the Talon 2. The 2020 bike was $750 or 600 pounds, and it has also decreased a good amount to $575 or 530 pounds. In 2020, this bike came in a gloss gray color and a metallic black and orange color. For 2021, this bike replaces those colors with the color concrete and the color red clay. And once again, we have an update to the suspension fork on the bike, which was a RockShox XC30 fork and is now the SR Suntour XCT30 fork, which is essentially SR Suntour's version of that same fork. Both of these have lockouts to lock out the suspension in flat areas to go faster, and they should be fairly similar, though the RockShox brand is often known to be pretty reliable. The brakes have the same story as the Talon 3, so the Tektro 275 brakes have been switched to the Tektro 143 brakes. Another update is to the tires, which were Maxxis Icon 2.2 inch wide tires for the 29 inch wheel size Talons in 2020, and Maxxis Ardent 2.4 inch wide tires for the 27.5 inch wheel Talons. The 2021 Talon goes to the 2.4 inch wide Maxxis Recon tire for all wheel sizes, which should provide some better traction in all models. And finally, we have the drivetrain updates. The front and rear derailleur in 2020 were both from Shimano's Alivio group set, but they have been replaced with the Shimano Altus front derailleur and Shimano Acera rear derailleur, both of which are lower level than the Alivio ones, but once again normal for the price point of this bike. The crankset and cassette have also undergone changes, as the 2020 bike used a Shimano 36-22 tooth crankset, while the new bike goes to the Pro Wheel model, which still has a double chainring with 36 teeth on the larger ring and 22 on the smaller. The cassette has changed from the Shimano 11-36 tooth to the Shimano 12-32 tooth, which will be a bit worse at climbing uphill and will have a slightly lower top speed. But moving on, let's discuss the Talon 1. This bike in 2020 was priced at £800, but it has decreased to 650 pounds in 2021, or $800. This bike came in two colors in 2020, which were gloss charcoal and a matte silver and black color, while the new bike also comes in two colors that are now desert sage and a simple black color. The suspension fork was an SR Suntour Radon air fork in 2020 and is now an SXC32RL air fork from Giant themselves in 2021. This new fork has the same specifications as the SR Suntour fork, though it is new for this year, so I do not have too much information on it. On paper though, it does seem very similar to the 2020 fork. The brakes have the same story again as the other two Talon bikes, where the Tektro brakes have just been swapped out for another Tektro brake set. The tires also have the same story as the Talon 2, where the Maxxis Icon and Ardent tires are switched to the Maxxis Recon tires. And lastly, let's talk about the drivetrain updates. The 2020 bike used a full SRAM SX Eagle 1x12 drivetrain with a 30-tooth crankset and a SRAM 11 to 50-tooth cassette. This is SRAM's entry drivetrain for serious mountain biking and is a pretty good one for its price. The 2021 bike goes to the Shimano Dior 1x10 drivetrain with a Pro Wheel Charm crankset, which Giant states to have 30 or 32 teeth in certain models, and an 11 to 42 tooth Dior cassette. This new drivetrain has two less cogs on the rear cassette, which translates to a 10-speed drivetrain versus the 12-speed in 2020, and 8 less teeth on the largest cog in the cassette, which overall means a narrower gear range with less uphill climbing ability in 2021, though once again at the new price point this Shimano drivetrain is a good one to have. And finally we have the Giant Talon Zero. Now this bike is the only bike I could not find a 2020 version of, so instead I will just compare this bike with the 2021 Talon 1 to show you what changes for the top end model. Starting with the price, the 2021 Talon 1 costs $800 or 650 pounds, while the new Talon 0 is priced a bit more at 850 pounds. For the colors, this new Talon 0 comes in only one color thus far, which is Blue Ashes. The first difference between these bikes is at the hubs. The Talon 1 uses Giant Tracker Sport hubs with loose ball bearings, while the 2021 Talon 0 uses Shimano sealed bearing hubs that require less maintenance. Besides that, the only change is to the drivetrain. The Talon 1 uses a Pro Wheel Charm 30 or 32 tooth crankset, while the Talon 0 goes to the Pro Wheel MPX 30 or 32 tooth crank, which has slightly better construction. The chain is upgraded from the KMC X10 chain to the Shimano Dior chain in the Talon 0 as well, which should be a bit more durable. And the last change is to the cassette, which is a Shimano Dior 11 to 42 tooth 10 speed in the Talon 1, and a Shimano Dior 10 to 51 tooth 12 speed in the Talon 0, which offers a much wider range and gives the bike a 1x12 drivetrain, which is often preferred for serious mountain biking. And with that, I've covered all the changes, big or small, to the Giant Talon lineup from 2020 to 2021. I'll throw up those completed tables right now showing all the changes from 2020, as well as the final one comparing the Talon 1 and Talon 0, so you can see those differences as well. But as always, let me know if you noticed a mistake or have any questions or suggestions for my videos. And some people also wanted me to talk about which bike I would recommend out of these if I had to choose, but I will cover that in another video since I'll eventually work on a full Giant Talon 2021 lineup video where I will compare all 5 of these bikes with each other to kind of show you what the differences are between the different price points. Overall, I hope this video helped you out in figuring out those updates and seeing all the stuff that's different in these bikes from 2020. Especially since it can be a bit confusing to look through the website and find all of that information. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching and keep biking.